8 in the morning. I've got, we're going to preach against Ishtar this morning. Try to stop it in its tracks. We start our messages by reading to you emails we get from around the world and around the country. We are on the internet all over the world. We are streaming 24 hours a day, and then we've got several hundred messages on the internet. And we're, of course, needless to say, we're all over the world with that. And we get calls and emails from a little bit of everywhere, and some from Europe, some from South America. We've got one this morning I'll read from South Africa, a very good email. You've been catching us over there on the internet. And I got a Dr. Bozeman writes, "Dear Mr. Brown, thank you so much for the opportunity to share in your wonderful knowledge of God's Word. It truly is a privilege to finally hear the truth I have always known is out there somewhere. Let me share my life story with you, and it will show how God has shaped it despite me fighting all the way. I'm a male, 46 years old, and live in Johannesburg, South Africa." This is the man from South Africa. "I'm a medical doctor by profession. Ever since I was a young boy, I've had this hunger to learn the truth about everything. I just knew that there had to be more to existence than competing in this world to see who could collect the most expensive and prettiest toys." That's like Zig Ziglar says, the one who dies with the most toys wins. That's one of his sayings. He is an ignoramus. The one who dies with the most toys goes to hell. "I have just never felt like I belong in this world. I never had many friends as they considered me too serious and no fun. So I started reading everything I could find. I always wanted to be a doctor, and after school I studied to be a doctor. But the more I studied, the more I learned, the emptier I felt. The church I grew up with, the Dutch Reformed Church, gave no answers either." Some people call themselves Dutch Reformed. They'll say they believe in predestination. Well, Robert Schuler's Dutch Reformed. I don't know what that means. That don't mean nothing. He's not anything. They are supposed to be Calvinists, but sadly they have resorted to the easy Jesus teaching and were only really interested in making money for themselves. I started suffering with depression at university and started abusing alcohol and even drugs. I abandoned my Christian faith and looked for answers elsewhere. I've studied most religions, including Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Scientology, Freemasonry, and Judaism. I never considered atheism because being a scientist and learning about the human body, I just knew it was impossible that it all happened by chance or by natural selection, or whatever they choose to call it. There's obviously a great designer of it all. After I completed my medical studies, I started working as a doctor, and since I was never interested in making plenty of money, I worked at hospitals and did part-time work to fund my alcohol and gambling habit. I was desperately unhappy and looking for answers everywhere. I played my life away until the day my mother died. I was 38 years old and totally lost and empty inside. My mother was always very religious, and she kept urging me to turn to God. She said He wanted a personal relationship with me and would answer all my questions when I turned to Him. After her death, I lived with my father as he was lost without my mother and needed taken care of. I returned to the Christian faith and visited as many Christian churches, he uses the word loosely, as I can find, but they had no answers. They confused me even more. I started drinking again and gambling. In July 2007, I became very sick. I had diabetes and septicemia. I knew I was dying. I was 42 years old, and years of abusing my body had taken its toll. I was in renal failure and at risk of needing an amputation for my septic foot. I wanted to die as I was tired of it all, but I didn't die. I know now that God kept me alive, even though I didn't know it back then. He was not done with me yet. I was now on insulin and stopped drinking, but still couldn't give up smoking. I still didn't turn to God, and 16 months later I was in the hospital again. This time my other foot was septic and I was dying again. I recovered, but this time I had a new complication. I was going blind. I developed retinal bleeding in both eyes from the diabetes and have lost most of my vision in my left eye and have partial vision left in my right eye. I can no longer read books, can only read using the magnifier on my computer screen. I can no longer work or drive a car. I have lost all my money, my health, my friends, my status, my independence, but I have found God. He has crushed me and is still refining me daily. He has removed my desire to drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, abuse drugs, and overeat out of emptiness, and most importantly, He has taken away my pride. I've lost everything. For the first time in my life, I am truly happy. Wow. Thank you more than anybody will understand this. I found your website via videos on YouTube, searching the 70 weeks of Daniel. I enjoy the way you bring together the whole Bible as a unit. Nobody has ever done that in any sermons I've listened to. If possible, could you please send more DVDs in Revelation and 70 weeks of Daniel? I also like more on biology, science of the Bible, and gematria. On the video 2788 that I found on YouTube was amazing. My postal address is Adrian Bosman in Robertsham, Johannesburg, Republic of South Africa. Once again, thank you. That's a great letter, isn't it? That's really good. That's encouraging.